You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump ordered to hand over Jean Carroll's $5 after losing Supreme Court appeal, report, based on an article by Robert Davis. Trump loses in court, then calls it persecution, the actual power map. A federal judge has ordered Donald Trump to release more than $5 million he owes Jean Carroll, with interest, after the Supreme Court declined to take his appeal. That is the basic fact pattern: a civil judgment, a failed attempt to escape it, and a court forcing compliance. Trump is not a wronged outsider here. He is the president being compelled to pay what a jury and the courts have already said he owes. That matters because the central question is not whether this is controversial. The question is who has authority and who is trying to evade it. In this case, the answer is plain. What the order means: the payment is part of a civil verdict that found Trump sexually abused Carroll in a department store in 1996 and then defamed her after becoming president. Carroll also won a $83 million defamation judgment from a jury, and Trump now has until the end of July to keep pushing that fight upward. This is not a story about legal confusion. It is a story about a man with enormous political power being told, again, that power does not erase liability. The courts are not inventing the dispute. They are enforcing the consequences of conduct already tested in court. The smear is the strategy. The Trump administration's response tells you exactly how this machine works. Rather than confront the judgment, it reaches for the usual propaganda: witch hunts, Democrat-funded travesty, lawfare. This is not argument. It is misdirection designed to turn accountability into victimhood and evidence into conspiracy. That rhetoric serves a clear purpose. It tries to move blame away from the person found liable and onto the institutions that held him to account. It invites supporters to treat enforcement as persecution and the victim as a political instrument. That is not an accident. It is the operating method. Power without consequence is the real goal. What Trump is fighting is not merely a payment. He is fighting the idea that a president can be made to answer for sexual abuse and defamation like anyone else. The entire posture of defiance depends on a deeper claim: that office should shield him from consequence, and that any institution willing to enforce the law must be illegitimate. That is why the language around this case is so aggressive. It is trying to convert a straightforward civil judgment into an ideological siege. The objective is not persuasion. It is normalization of impunity. The pattern is bigger than one case. This story fits a larger political pattern that should now be impossible to miss. Trump's camp treats every legal boundary as an attack, every adverse ruling as partisan sabotage, and every enforcement action as evidence that democracy itself is rigged against him. It is a familiar authoritarian move: rebrand accountability as conspiracy, then demand loyalty from the public by flooding the zone with grievance. The courts are doing what institutions are supposed to do. The more revealing fact is how much political energy is still being spent on evading that basic reality. A healthy democratic system does not need to pretend this is normal. It needs to recognize the tactic for what it is: a wealthy, powerful defendant trying to turn the law into a villain because the law finally reached him. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.